The troll comments have started already. That's so funny. Hello, everybody. Just waiting on Stefano joining. Good morning. It's 4 p.m. here. We'll always support your kind work. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Send another invite. Vegan for the animals, yes. Virgin's better. India, New York. Thank you too, Mariana. Stefano, did you get the invite? Ah, got it. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yes, David.
What's going on, man?
Can you hear me well?
Yes, can you?
Can hear you perfectly, man. Thank you.
How you doing? Thanks to you for having me.
Oh, man, you're so welcome. Congrats for being the first Instagram Live interview we've ever done.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. Putting me to shame there. So for yourself and anyone who's joined us, my name is Kenny. I, of course, work for Vegan FTA. Have done for around half a year now. But more importantly, man, if you could introduce yourself and also if you could tell us like your vegan story, when and why you went vegan, please.
All right, let's start with that. So my name is Stefano, and I'm a calisthenics coach, and I specialize in helping vegans, specifically building muscle. And I'm also a dedicated animal rights activist here in Malaga, the south of Spain. I have I've started my own events with an non-profit organization called Lucha contra el Sistema, which we do something very similar to the known Anonymous for the Voiceless. So we go in the street, we show footage from animal agriculture, and we have conversation with the people that stop and want to know more about what happens behind closed door of slaughterhouses. But also recently have become an organizer, official organizer of Anonymous for the Voiceless. So I'll be doing it officially under the name of Anonymous for the Voiceless. And so my vegan story. Something that I wanted to start with when I talk about my vegan stories, because many people think that vegans are all these empaths and pure, and that they have some special and natural, feeling towards animals. But I wasn't like that at all. I was definitely a speciesist. Now, I don't think in my heart I was a bad person, but I definitely didn't see the bad in in seeing animals as products. And I think that's coming from the fact that I was conditioned to it, you know, face to face when I was younger. So all around me, I had family farms. I saw rabbits in cages. I saw chickens being slaughtered. I saw a pig being slaughtered once, and that was very shocking. Like, you know, the big animals being killed, and you hear the animals screaming. It's not nice. It's not nice.
Yeah.
And I was distressed by it. I remember I was very distressed, but at the same time, like, you know, society present that to you as the normal, and so you get conditioned to that. Um, and I remember this was the farmer told. The farmer told me that, you know, the kid must watch. The kid must watch this. You know, in front of. I was with my mother, and I was about, I don't know, 6 years old, and
Oh.
and the guy wanted to cut. You know, he wanted to cut and the pig throat in front of the kid. You know, something is not right there for
Wow,
sure.
yeah. So you
Definitely not.
witnessed that at 6 years old, yeah?
Yeah, that happened at 6 years old. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, yeah. It's
And
kept
so,
very, where I'm from, it's kept very separate. It's not really part of the culture to, like, they don't want to show it to us for sure in the UK. It's kept very separate. So that would be shocking to a lot of people.
yeah, definitely. You know, there's this disconnection. Some people are more connected, some people are less. But you know, what that did to me was definitely conditioning me to thinking that animals are below us and that they have a function. You know, each animal have a purpose, and you know, we do whatever we want with them. And I remember a couple of times happened, once with my cousin and another time with a girl that I was dating, and they had a rabbit as a pet. And
Yeah,
the first thing that I could say and think when I saw the rabbit was, I think it's stupid to have a rabbit as a pet. We should have it for dinner with potatoes, you know.
yeah,
Well, now that I think of it, I didn't say it with the malicious intent. I never killed an animal, so I would probably not being able to kill an animal. But you know, I kind of meant it in that moment, because for me, a rabbit is food. You know, I saw rabbits during my childhood in cages, and you know, I didn't see them as pets. Um,
yeah,
and and you know, things started to change. So I've been vegan for. I went plant based first. I watched Cowspiracy. Um,
ah,
I,
yeah,
yeah, about 5 years ago. But you know,
hmm,
like looking at how bad the impact from animal agriculture was to the environment, for me was good enough to say, yeah, you know, I don't want to, I don't want to be part of this. So I was almost vegan, you know, like literally, I was having animal products, not even animal. I was having fish and prawns
yeah,
once per year, because it was the only thing that really taste wise was what I really liked. But for
yeah.
the rest of the year, I would be uh, vegan. Very weird, actually.
No,
Almost once.
yeah, it's not so weird because myself and my wife were the same. Like we were like plant-based for the environment for a couple of years. And I remember back in our old house, we cooked chicken twice in 1 year
Yeah,
in that house. And so we came through to veganism from the lens of sustainability, the environment as well. And I actually watched Seaspiracy with my wife. Have you seen Seaspiracy?
yeah,
Yeah. And so I was looking up, do you know how there was a big backlash from Seaspiracy as to whether it was the information was true or false? And so I was fact checking the documentary, and I came across Earthling Ed, who everybody knows that's vegan, and he had a response video about exactly that, debunking the debunks basically. And then I thought he was so good. I watched basically every video on his channel, and that's what made me go vegan. So I didn't even see like slaughterhouse footage or anything. I just learned animal rights ethics from Earthling Ed after watching Seaspiracy. So no, not weird. It's the same story as me. I was into sustainability and being plant-based for a long time as well. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something similar but by the way, Seaspiracy is shocking. Like, it's even more shocking than Cowspiracy. Yeah, Cowspiracy is one thing, but you know what happens to the oceans, it's absolutely shocking. But you know, we can recognize here why some vegans are so kind of pushy to make people understand that veganism is about the animals, because that's what happens when you're not vegan for the animals. It happens that you do eat chicken sometimes, you do eat fish sometimes, and it's become more of a personal choice. And also, I think some people like me and you, perhaps, they get very motivated to truly almost avoid animal products. But for most people, it's not going to be like that, and they will still contribute a lot to animal agriculture. And it comes down to the fact that when it comes to the environment, you can do so many other things. You know, who's doing better for the environment? Someone that works is a pilot, right? And you know, it pollutes a lot through his job. But then at home, it's like he recycles, he buys things only local.
Yeah.
You don't know, you know, like, for example, yes, I live in a camper, you know, and I'm polluting driving, but at the same time, I don't use electricity. I don't use electricity. I use very limited. So when it comes to the environment, being vegan is not an obligation. It's more like one thing that you can do for the environment. And of course, you don't have to be vegan. Plant-based is enough. That's why veganism is about ethics, is about the animals.
Yeah.
And my connection to that was Joey Carbstrong. So just like you with Earthling, for me was Joey Carbstrong, and it was kind of the same, you know, as you. Like, it wasn't necessarily the slaughterhouse footage that made me change. It was more that I'm brainwashing myself, listening to his words, you know, that's saying, you know, animals are just like us, you know, they can't speak, they cannot tell us how they feel, and they don't want to do things, but they experience life just like us, you know, and the fact that they don't speak and they are so different doesn't mean that they don't want to have friends, they don't want freedom, they don't suffer, and it was very weird, you know, because I went from not thinking about it to shit, true, you know.
Yeah.
They're just like that. They're people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're Tash Peterson. Do you know Tash Peterson?
Yes.
Yeah, she refers to them as non-human people, and I do quite like that, because what is a person? Like, a person's an individual. How was it that you found Joey Carbstrong then? How did you come across him?
So basically, COVID happened, and I was already a personal trainer in gyms, but you know, gyms closed, so I lost all my clients, didn't know what to do, and I started my online business, and you know, learning about marketing and how things works when you create content to be successful. You know, I realized you have to be true to your values and really be niche specific. So I wanted to know what happens in the vegan world. And I started to research more and, you know, like, what are the activists doing? And I came across Joey Carbstrong. And I realized that he wasn't talking about environment and sustainability. He was talking about the animals. And at the time, he's not doing it anymore. But at the time, he was sharing most of his debates together with animal footage. So while he was explaining to people what happens in the dairy industry and how cows are artificially inseminated and their kid is taken away, he would put a small thing there showing it. So I would. That's how the connection worked for me.
Very cool, man. I feel like this leads us quite well into the next question because you did say you are somewhat of an activist yourself, right? You like to do some activism. What point into your vegan journey did you think I need to not only be vegan, but I need to be an activist and start speaking up for the animals as well? When did that happen for you?
Straight away, like
Oh, really?
when I saw Joy Carpstron, well, I mean, at first I had all of these emotional stuff going on, and I realized how bad it was to have all of these people enslaved and suffering for a product that we don't need. I also had just adopted a dog, Nina, and she was just chilling on the sofa, and and when I was making the connection, I look at her and I was like, she's just, living, just why are we putting them in such horrible situations if we don't even need to eat this stuff, like it's so horrible. And I never, I always had mixed feeling with people, like humans, in a sense that I've always been against injustices, even though I was a species, as I said, absolutely, but I didn't recognize probably that injustice. But in general, I would never liked my family being sexist. They were pretty sexist. South of Italy family, and so machista was a thing, and there was also some racism going on. Nothing violent, but definitely the mentality was judging people based on their sex and their race, and I never liked that. I was always against that. I was always fighting with my family when jokes like these would come up, and so. But on the other side, I realized that I never liked that weak mindset that most humans have, and they say that most humans are selfish, and when they need to take action towards something for the better, they usually don't do it.
Yeah.
So I think because of this reason, I never had that call to like help humans directly, because in modern society, like humans have a very good life, even though everyone is complaining all the time, but everyone watching this on a cell phone, right? So
yeah, and we already have rights and we have laws in place against obviously these forms of discrimination and stuff, whereas obviously animals don't, so you feel instantly like you need to help them. I really like that you said straight away, because there is a thing, I think there's a stigma around, like, if you've just went vegan, like, you can't really talk about it, but I believe that as soon as you make the connection and you understand like what's wrong with living a non-vegan lifestyle, I feel from that moment forward, if you feel the sincerity in your heart to talk about it, you can talk about it straight away.
Yeah.
I don't see how there's any issue with advocating for veganism and animal rights right off the bat as soon as you go vegan. So that's why I would agree with that for sure, man.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, you gonna say?
Yeah. I was gonna say that, as you said, when it comes to the animal, I realized that they don't have anyone, that they're completely innocent, and then later on I realized that we are humans enslave the most vulnerable of all animals. We don't farm lions and tigers or sharks. We do it to the most vulnerable ones.
Yeah.
And I really connected with that. Another thing that really made me connect with it is because I had injustice done to myself at school. I was bullied for most of my school life, so I
I see.
definitely connected with that too. Um, and then I really liked the approach to Joy Carpstrom, very direct, and make people, uh, you know, kind of express their hypocrisy and in way of being incoherent, which I always saw in people, but I never perhaps had a reason to pursue those conversations. And that made me think, oh, I like doing this. I like doing what Joy Carpstrom is doing. But at that moment, I was in an island in Italy, and I wasn't motivated to start by myself. I was like, I cannot go here. And everyone is like very close-minded and farmers. I cannot be Joy Carpstrom in this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So it took some time before I started. Like 3 months after, I went to Milan. Milan has one of the biggest activists groups from Anonymous for the Voiceless. So it was very cool to start my activism there, because it was like, sometimes we were 60 people doing animal rights events in the streets. So it was very cool to start there.
Very nice.
And before my first event, I had this tattoo. So it was like my commitment, and I wanted to make sure that I get these before my first event.
Ah, cool. Yeah. Sometimes Joey says about his one, sometimes he wishes it wasn't there because it I don't know, just makes people feel closed off straight away. But you obviously want people to know straight away. Is that the thought behind the animal defender vegan? When you walk past someone in the supermarket, you want them to think about veganism, or what's the thought behind the tattoos?
Yeah, it's definitely, inside of me, whenever I meet someone, I always want to speak about the animals, right?
Yeah.
But you find soon, you find out soon by doing a lot of activism and having this passion that often this conversation turn into debates. So,
Yeah.
so it's like it takes your energy away. And so, having this tattoo is a way of sending the message every time. When I work out, people see me, I'm strong. They know I'm vegan, even if I don't have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And Animal Defender came because after a lot of debates and discussions about animal rights, I realized that people get very confused about what the vegan word means.
Oh, yeah.
Starting from thinking that is for health, thinking that is for the environment, from thinking that is about a better treatment for the animals rather than completely eliminate the exploitation of them. So,
Interesting, yeah.
you know what? Let's make it clear. I'm an animal defender. So if I'm an animal defender and you're not vegan, you are the animal abuser. So it was kind of a clarification of this.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
I'm not only vegan. I am the one that really cares about animals.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It seems like you do multiple different forms of activism. Is there any form of activism that you believe to be the strongest or most powerful form? Yeah, what do you think?
Interesting question, because I would say that my way of seeing this has changed a lot over the years. I think all kind of activism are good, but when I hear people saying that they're doing activism by having a plant-based recipe food page, like, that's not activism. You're part of the change. You're part of the change, but if you want to effectively do activism, you should mix that up with a clear and truthful message of what's happening to the animals and hold people accountable to the fact that if they're not vegans, they are paying for that. So, the discussion, spreading the message is definitely the best form of activism. Now, what's the best way of spreading the message? I don't know. I definitely know. I definitely know that if we wouldn't have social media, we wouldn't have a movement. So I think, I think that for everyone that does activism, even if people in here, probably some of you participate to Anonymous for the Voiceless events, record your conversations, because I know, I would do activism also because without social media, without reaching more people, because at the end of the day, many activists like me, we are just people that want to do some good, and we found our purpose in speaking up for the animals. But we also have to be as effective as possible. And the truth is, one person at the time, you talk with the street, it's a bit slow. We need to get the message on social media to reach more people. Even though I would like to add something here, because there is a lot of people judging this way of doing activism, like, you're not going to change the world by talking to one people at the time. That's absolutely wrong, because I've been changed like that, through social media. But it was one conversation that I listened, and I became an activist. I have a social media page, and I spread the message. People go vegan on a daily basis thanks to me. I got to a point when I was reaching 2 million people per month on my page. It's crazy, right? So, so stay motivated, guys, to talk to one person at the time, because you don't know who you're talking to. This person that might make the connection, it might be the most successful entrepreneur in the world, and is going to beat Burger King with the vegan, with a vegan fast food chain. You don't know who you're talking to. So I think one person at a time is effective also for this reason, but also because at the end of the day, if we don't have people embracing the vegan message, I think other changes would not happen. Like, even if if you do a job in politics, if you don't have the people supporting you because they don't do the connection, it's kind of useless. You need to change the society and the people.
Yeah, there is an interesting point that I'm not sure if you know who George Monbiot is. He's definitely vegan, but most of his work is to do with sustainability. But he has talked about the tipping point for dramatic social and widespread change is, according to him, or wherever he sourced the data, as 25% of the population. So if 25% of the population change a certain way, that's apparently enough to bring on greater and wider social change. So maybe we don't have to hope for every single person to go vegan, but just enough,
Exactly. Because then when you make some laws or stuff, then you have a lot of people that follow, right? Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's also what you said about, so I suppose it's like a combination of all forms of activism that you would suppose to be the greatest way to do it. You have a conversation with some face-to-face conversations are powerful, but the beauty of social media is that it can turn one conversation into hundreds or thousands of conversations. So yeah, that's awesome, man.
I think I think what I said before about food, it applies to everything. It makes a very powerful way of being an activist. So whatever is your passion, whatever is your you specialize in, if you know, for example, my page is about fitness, calisthenics, and I support it with animal rights, right? So I think it's a very cool way of doing activism, because you maybe get the general population attracted to you because of my fitness, of my tips or whatever, but then I also share the animal message with them. So it's a good way of, you know, getting a lot of people and bringing them down into a funnel.
Yeah, of course. I did want to ask you, obviously you're a bigger, more muscular man. Yeah. Of course, there's these myths that vegans can't get big and whatever. I suppose it's kind of a double-barreled question, because I wonder if you believe that it makes you a stronger activist to be like a bigger, more muscular man. Does it help your activism? But also, is it just nonsense what all non-vegans say about that it's impossible to get? Well, obviously it's not impossible, but it's just as easy to get big as a vegan?
I mean, it is definitely, well, actually, no. Building muscle is hard, period.
Of course.
Whether you are vegan or you're not vegan, I think you know, people are just confused, because some of the common misconception that I get from having a lot of conversations about, you know, fitness, because I'm a coach, is especially because I have a lot of conversation with beginners, and if you're a beginner and you think that you don't build muscle because you don't get enough protein, or because you're not bulking properly, or there's some nutrition hack that you're missing out, you're looking in the wrong direction, because you're weak. Like that's what you need to look at, is strength. Is strength. Like if you truly look around and see the biggest guy, the very truly muscular guy, they are strong. You know, that's what they have in common. They deadlift 200 kilograms, they bench press 150 for rep. That's what they have in common, strength. And I think something that, you know, I guess happened to a lot of us when we go vegan, we start to become skeptical a little bit about nutrition and science. And I did too, you know, because at the end of the day, like, you know, yes, I mean, I'm not here to say don't listen to science, of course do. But I now have a different approach, meaning that now I don't take it for granted. And, you know, you gotta convince me. You gotta convince me, because that's why they convinced us that we need cow's milk. We are not baby cows, you know. How did they do that?
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way that nature would have it set up that way. Yeah.
How did they do it? That's right. Crazy. So now with the protein thing, for example, I realized that there has been a lot of hype around it, and I don't think it won't matter a lot. I don't think eating more protein is going to help you build more muscle, or maybe it will. But I had a conversation with a biologist about this as well, and I asked him, like, what do you think is the difference? Like, if I start from zero and go up to 150 kilogram bench press, and I eat a lot of protein, and then there's the other guy that goes through the same process of building strength and it's less protein, is there going to be a difference? And he said there might be a difference in the fact that one guy is going to hit his genetic potential a bit quicker, but at the end of the day, I think it's minimal. It's not a big deal. It's absolutely not a big deal. And personally, you know, and because of this hype around protein, now you have a lot of vegan fitness influencers that say, oh, this is how you get 200 grams of protein per day as a vegan. You eat what's the name? Texturized protein. Soy
TVP,
protein.
TVP,
Yeah.
yeah. Texturized vegetable protein.
Seitan, fake meat, protein shake. Now, I'm not saying all this is unhealthy, but the reason why this food is promoted is for the wrong reason, because you actually don't need to get 200 grams of protein per day. You just don't need it. Okay?
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, yeah.
I eat about, I would say it goes between 100 and 140, but also because you can get 140, probably even more if you make little tweaks to your diet, but just eating whole plant food, you don't even need, you can get, if you want, you can get an high amount of protein just with plant food, but in general, I think it's more important to eat enough calories to feel good, because one of the mistakes that most vegans do, and these vegans that give up vegan diet, plant-based diet, because of low energy levels and they were
Yeah,
malnourished, it's because they don't
yeah,
eat enough calories. They go vegan, they only eat apples and salads, and they don't feel good. And of course, you don't feel. No, eat food.
yeah,
Eat
yeah.
more
Just
food.
make sure that you're full and sustained for sure. Do you think that you get taken more seriously as a vegan activist because of being a
Oh,
bigger guy? Though? Yeah,
I didn't answer that. Sorry.
that's okay. No
I
worries.
think I think it does. Um, yes. So, literally, when people ask me about the protein thing, I just flex. I just flex my bicep.
Yeah,
And most of the time, the people I'm talking to, they are unfit. Even if they're fit, they're less fit than me. So I destroy that argument that way, really. Um, and unfortunately, people need that. I think need that because even people who are not fit, they look up to more successful and fitter people and athletes, right? So I mean, you know, so it definitely helps, and I would say it should be mandatory if you want to give a good example for the animals and be an activist more effectively, it should be mandatory for you to be fit.
yeah.
You don't have to be necessarily massive. You can be just fit. But yes, I think it
Yeah,
does.
this is what inspired me. Like earlier on, you were talking about how you speak to a lot of beginners. I'm a beginner as far as working out and being concerned with my fitness, and this is what inspired me. I used to actually share a lot of your stuff when people would talk about like how vegans can't get enough protein. And I used to share your stuff and many other activists, but then at one point I just said to myself, like, I want to not have to share other people's. I
Good
want to
stuff.
just be the proof myself and stop it in its tracks, basically. But yeah. So you say you do calisthenics. It's called calisthenics, yeah?
Yeah.
What is it exactly? If you
So
don't
I think
mind.
the best way to resume it is most people know gymnastics rings. All of these figures that gymnasts do on the rings. And basically, calisthenics is the street variation of it. So basically, developing strength through moving your body against gravity in different position with some complex movement like the ones that gymnasts do, but also like just basics movement like pull-ups and push-ups and weighted push-ups and weighted pull-ups. And I fell in love with it because I started my fitness journey with the gym, and I loved it. Like as I said in the beginning, I was bullied, so that made me feel unsafe, and gave me some problem in feeling confident in social interactions. And going to the gym, getting strong, building muscle, helped me build that confidence. Start getting attention from the lady because I was fitter, and so it made me happier to be stronger and have a good physique. But at the same time, I got to a point when I was happy with my physique, you know, and coming from a background of sports, gym started to become a bit boring. And later on, I found out about calisthenics, and it is this good mix between strength and skills and, you know, coordination. It's more like sport, would say. So that's why I fell in love with it.
Ah, very nice, man. That's cool. I think if we finish off the interview and conversation with something maybe for the viewers, especially people that think they want to get into more activism and stuff like what you do, because you do clearly so many different kinds of activism. What advice would you give to a vegan who wants to start becoming active, whether that be street activism or online? Yeah, what do you think?
So I think that first of all, like, you will feel fulfilled and empowered as a vegan once you start doing activism. Also frustrated, but
Yeah, of course, yeah.
and you also start hating humans and realize that we are doomed because you know, when I, you know, like, when I started doing activism, I was like, yo, like, I'm going to change the world so quickly they don't even know, because, you know, for me it was so clear, right? You know, like, everyone says they are against animal cruelty. This is the truth. Go vegan.
Yeah, it'll be so easy, yeah. But clearly that's not the case.
Realize that doesn't happen, and this is another thing that I said at the beginning, that I always saw people and humans as a bit weak and selfish and hypocritical, and the conversation about veganism really enlightens that aspect of most people. They don't want to take action, they're apathy, they just want to move through life, and they want more and more and more and more comfort, and they are selfish enough to look the other way and keep eating animal products. But apart from that, you will feel good because you also get people change because of your activism, and that's great. So another thing that people need to understand, because many people, like, they try to just have a conversation with the people around them, like family and friends, and they think, and once they realize they're not going to change, they think it's impossible to change people. But it's not. You know, that depends from your luck. You might surround it from people that go vegan. Like, one of the girls I dated in the past, she managed to turn the whole family vegan, like father, mother, sister, and the boyfriend of the sister. So,
wow, yeah.
But that doesn't usually happen.
Not for me.
So
not for me.
You know, if that's your situation, like, being animal rights will you know, restart that sparkle in you towards wanting to make a change. So for me, I think everyone has his own comfort zone. In general, in life, I think the goal is moving that comfort zone and make it bigger and bigger, getting out of it, right?
Yeah.
So for me, as I said in the beginning, I didn't feel comfortable on starting by myself, having conversation with people in the street. So for me, I had to go to an Animals for the Voiceless chapter and listening to others, having conversation. And for me, it was pretty quick. Like, it took me like 1 or 2 conversations to realize that I had enough information in me from listening to other debates. And I went straight to have conversations by myself. So I would say that the best way to start doing activism in the street, if you like to have conversations, is finding a group, animal rights group close to your city. They usually, I think at this point, Anonymous for the Voiceless is not too far from, you know, anyone has a closed chapter and you can start that way. If you don't have that opportunity, then I need to tell you that you need to start by yourself. You know, you need to make the effort and start by yourself in the street. You will find people that follow you sooner or later. I've done it myself. You know, after Anonymous for the Voiceless, I started to do cubes by myself, me, the screen, no one else here in Malaga, and having conversation. And after 1 month or two, I managed to have more people joining me, and we created a group. So,
very cool. That's
so
what I
that
wanted
happened.
to ask. Sorry.
Yeah.
When you do street activism, how do you start the conversation with the public? How do you draw people in to have the conversation with you?
So Anonymous for the Voiceless has a policy, or they think is more, it's better to have conversations with people that show through interest to the video footage. I think it's a good way to go because these people are likely to really listen to your message while you talk, and you're less likely to have conversation with trolls or people that actually don't care. But at the same time, I think this is a number game, and even talking with people that don't get the message in that moment is still important to do because you still implanted the seed. Even if this person goes back home and is upset with vegans, at least we upset this person. We did something. So what I do is when we have the screens to approach people, I just ask them if they're against animal cruelty, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's my first question. So are you against animal cruelty? Yes, why? Well, look at this. This is what happened for me the next. Oh, shit. And then we start conversations.
Yeah.
But it's really, you know, sometimes I find it's still difficult to get out of that comfort zone. For example, because sometimes I do just street interviews without the video. And sometimes I'm there kind of waiting for people to come, but I realize most of the time the most effective way to do it is go into the face of the people and put the microphone in their face and ask them questions. And if they then say, I don't want to get recorded, you can stop recording, of course, and have the conversation. But we need to be fighters. That's what I realized. You know, it's difficult to. I think it's very difficult to be fighters for the animals because you don't have anyone that really supports you. We are alone as a movement or as activists. We're often alone because, you know, any other human injustice movement, they're supported from humans. Right? You get a lot of feedback and support, but for animal rights, to put your face out there and face non-vegans to have conversation, or even doing more disrupting event like going into McDonald's and do some show with blood and stuff like that. People not often support you, you know. So we need to be fighters, you know. And we don't have to have only that mentality of peace and love and respect. No, you know, like slaughterhouses are not good. If we could, we should go there in mass and shut them down, you know, forcibly, in a forcibly manner. But we cannot do it because we don't have much support.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting what you said about when you're doing activism to say, to mention the animals and to mention animal abuse, because I have also heard from other activists that using the vegan term to initiate conversation isn't as effective as just using the word animals or to say animal abuse, because everybody is in fact against animal abuse for the most part. And so it's just what we're trying to do is bridge the gap and the connection that, by the way, like meat and animal products are products of animal abuse, and to help people realize what they are already against, because that's what vegans are. We're people that we've always been against animal abuse, and then we realized some of our behaviors weren't in line with that, and then we changed. So I've heard from other people as well that to use animals and animal abuse in terms like that rather than why are you not vegan is more effective. So it's interesting to hear that from you as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, I was stronger with the vegan argument in the beginning. Like my first message that I had in my cartel was, if you're not vegan, you're an animal abuser. You pay for animal abuse, and it had much less success than just using, the consequences of meat, dairy, and eggs under the video, stuff like that. You should use vegan, because at the end of the day, vegan is the solution. I think it's good to have these words and movement that is a way of taking action against animal cruelty. But you want to talk about veganism once you're later on in the conversation. Yeah. So this one guy that's very. It has these 2 questions and very simple. Like it starts with, and he's from the UK. It starts with, like, what do you think about animal abuse? And he said, people, you want to bet that after the 3rd question, you're going to start justifying animal abuse. And, so he asked them if they think there is any good justification to cause cruelty to animals. And everyone is like, no, of course not. And then he asked them, what do you think about the animals that we put into slaughterhouse and we hang upside down? And so this way you get people to confirm their beliefs, at least, before you hold them accountable for their action. And this way you can move them towards understanding that, they are not in line with what they think and what they say. So they either species and they don't really care about animals, or they should change.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not incorrect, because other people might use very similar methods, I think the UK activist you were talking about was Cliff Grant.
Maybe.
Cliff Grant, and he has like white hair.
Maybe.
Older guy, yeah. So that's, very, very similar to what you were saying about starting off with the terms like animals and animal abuse. That's awesome. Yeah, really appreciate all of your insight and advice today. It's been inspiring for me because I'm someone who not only has just started on a journey of building muscle, etc., but also someone who wants to be more active as far as in the street, because I do all online activism right now, but I want to have conversations out there in the street as well. I would just say, do you have any like final thoughts to like share with our audience, or do you have questions for us or anything like that?
So, Kenny, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
Final thought is, again, get out there and fight for the animals. We are all stuck in this life of being selfish. I'm selfish myself. I try to, I try to be successful. I want a better house. I don't want to live in a camper, so I want to buy a house. But at the end of the day, that's fine. That's the society we live in. This is what we have created as human. We don't have to hate on what we are as a modern society, but it's important to recognize that you need to leave positive, how do you say, mark on this world. You need to dedicate. You are privileged, and you need to dedicate yourself to do something good. I think it's key that everyone in the world start understanding this. That's why I dedicate. This is the way I see it. Like, I commit to one activism day per week. That's what for me it's like job. once per week I go in the street and I do activism. That's it.
Yeah.
That's part of my work.
That's good advice. To just slot it in, choose a time, and say I'm going to do it once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Every day sounds good too.
I mean, I'm lucky enough to be able to do it every day. At least online is what I do for work. But I do want to get out there and speak to people in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what you want to do is basically like, start building it up, right? Maybe you start with committing to 1 post per day. Maybe you start committing to 1 event per month, and then it becomes 4 days per week and whatever. But definitely start committing to do something good, in which in this case is doing some activism for the animals.
Awesome.
So it was good, man.
Really, really appreciate the conversation. It's been good speaking to you, bud. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day, man. Peace.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.